Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and have I got an interesting report to share with you. And that is this: how much time do we really have until the biblical Armageddon? And does the biblical Armageddon actually hold any merit anyhow? Is the thing that the Christians have been talking about for years actually coming to pass? Or is it just a bunch of hot air? Well, have I got a report to share with you. In the end, the ultimate decision is up to you. But what I want to do in this report is share you some of those things that are spoken of by Christians in Christian circles and through biblical prophecy, and show you what's in the news, and then allow you to decide. Because again, ultimately, the decision is up to you. With that, one of the things spoken of in the Bible is Christian persecution. It says that in the latter days, speaking of now, we Christians will be persecuted for his name's sake. Well, check out this report, and this is actually from foxnews.com, titled, "Christians are the most persecuted group in the world as vicious attacks grow." Now that's a report straight from Fox News, of all places, stating that Christian persecution is now the most highly persecuted group. This was not so about 10 years ago. This was not so about 20 or 30 years ago. But today, in our day and age, Christian persecution has managed to hit the top of the list, especially with the Islamic jihadists rising and the fact that their number one target is Christianity. Well, that's not all. Also in the Bible, it talks about waters turning to blood, and that in the latter days, during the tribulation period, a time of untold horrors, that the waters would be turned to blood. Well, I did some research on this, and I'm going to throw some reports on the screen. But blood water has been spotted in Iran's Lake Irma, Russia's Siberian River, Australia's Sydney Beach, Egypt's Nile River, Chinese Zhongting River, Florida's creeks at Manuel's Branch, lagoons in Mexico. Spain had blood-colored rain water, waterfall in Antarctica, and the list goes on. In Revelation 16:4, it states this: "A third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood red." That is the prophecy that specifically talks about waters turning a blood color. Obviously, many are due to algae blooms and certain phenomena that have been happening. But either way, I guess that's for you to decide. But the waters are turning a blood red color. With that, how about mass animal die-off? In Hosea chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, it states this: "Hear the word of the Lord. For the Lord hath controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there's no truth, mercy, knowledge in the land. They swear, they lie, they kill, they steal, and commit adultery. And they murder. Blood touches blood. Therefore the land will mourn, and every one that dwells in there shall languish. The beast of the field, the fowls of the air, and yes, the fish of the sea shall be taken away." Now that is a prophecy that specifically talks about death, mass animal deaths all across the world. Is that something that we're seeing? Well, check out this report on the screen. Now, this is from a website that constantly monitors the death of animals, and I encourage everyone to go there and look through it. But the site is endtimeprophecy.org. And as you can see on the screen, there's been hundreds of thousands of animal deaths. So far, this year alone, thousands of bird. This month alone, thousands of bird, 2,200 reindeer, 18,000 cattle, and then 10,000 cattle, thousands of fish, turtles, 50,000 hens, 41 humpback whales, and the list goes on. And that's just in the month of April. Truth be told, there are more mass animal deaths that are increasing in intensity year after year after year. What about peace in Israel? The Bible talks about during the latter days that there's going to come a time where the Antichrist signs a peace deal with Israel. Now, let me clarify. Some Christians believe that's a possibility. Some don't. Some have a different view. There's different views within Christianity. But many believe in a 7-year tribulation period and that some sort of peace deal will be brokered between the Antichrist and the nation of Israel. Well, in the news the other day, I pulled out a report that told specifically of that event. Now, this is from www.jerusalempost.com. Arab-Israeli conflict. Abbas has decided to sign a peace deal with Israel. Now, it is in this report in which I detail that Donald Trump has managed to convince Abbas to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu in person in order to come to a peace negotiation and a peace deal. Now, the Bible talks about a peace deal that will be brokered. Let me preface, there have been multiple peace deals that have broken between these two, Israel and Palestine, multiple, but none have met the 7-year requirement in biblical prophecy. But again, anytime a peace deal is brokered, well, it's something to keep an eye on, I think, biblically speaking. Now, another thing that the Bible spoke of is Israel would once again become a nation. That happened in the 1940s when they became a nation again. Then they got, in the 1969, I believe, is when they had acquired Jerusalem in the 6-Day War. Another biblical prophecy. And then we also have that Jerusalem shall be a stumbling block. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that in Jerusalem, nation has rose against nation there, and everybody wants a piece of the pie. Israel wants a piece of Jerusalem. Palestine wants a piece of Jerusalem. Even the Vatican wants a piece of Jerusalem. Well, lots of tension going on there. Another event that the Bible talks about is wars and rumors of wars. Again, this is not something that I have to prove to you. We can see this in the everyday news. On my channel alone, I talk about tensions between America and North Korea, and then how China, Russia, Iran, and Japan are all involved in this tension. Not to mention the Middle East untold horrors, I guess, that are going on over there. There's nation against nation. Israel's in the center of chaos, and all kinds of craziness going on in the Middle East, not to mention Venezuela, where a lot of people are going hungry, and there's stress and just wars within the country going on over there as well. So wars and rumors of wars are definitely something that cannot be denied and have increased in intensity. That's not all. But what about technology? In the book of Daniel, it says that information will increase and knowledge would run to and fro. Well, this is something that we once again are seeing in the latter days, spoken of in biblical prophecy, that is. And this is an increase in technology. On a website, 2045.com, technology is so advanced that you can even buy an avatar for the future for millions of dollars. I believe the last time I looked, it was a couple million for one of these avatars, in which they will freeze your body. And then eventually the hope is to implant your conscience into this robotic avatar. No joke, it's the real deal. 2045.com has all that, but they've messed with DNA. There's DNA splicing. There's all kinds of technological advancements that we cannot deny, but are hugely going on, and people are playing God with technology. But that's not all. In the Bible, it also talks about how the gospel would be preached. Now, when the disciples approached Jesus and said, "What is the sign of your coming?" They asked for one. He said, "Well, the sign of my coming is that the gospel will be preached in all the land." Well, according to the JoshuaProject.com, about 50 of the largest populations or largest people groups still need to be witnessed to. Also on other websites, it says that's about 11% of the world's population. So there are still some that need to be reached. TikTok. One other thing that I want to bring up is there's a lot of other events that have happened. I'm not going to bring them all up. I'm just going to bring up the main ones. But here's two more that I want to share. Number one is this, the demoralization of our culture. That's a given. And finally, the increase in tsunamis, earthquake, and activity in nature, if you will. And that's a definite thing. And not necessarily, it's not due to global warming, because that's a lie to get you to believe one way in order to follow the globalist agenda. But the reason it is there is, number one, because God said it would be, and number two, it's also likely that we have increased technology that allows us to monitor these things all across the world. So you could also add to that, there is an increase altogether, I will say that, but you can also also add to it that there's a knowledge of the increase in tsunamis and activity all across the globe. Anyhow, ultimately, the decision is yours. Is biblical prophecy and the biblical Armageddon getting closer and closer? Or are Christians just blowing things out of the water? Ultimately, like I said before, the decision is yours. Anyhow, if you like what you heard today, please hit that subscribe button, share it on all your social media outlets, and give me a thumbs up. Well, I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.